Everfrog Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
A beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the 8? They get the 8.
Today will mark the final champions here in this 14th season here in CGL. We have a team who has clawed their way back from the lower bracket, our mid-season champions, 0907, and a team that has gone undefeated here in the playoffs. Yuurei Mirari meeting here at the end of things. Spectron, it is bound to be a fantastic one here today. Both these teams have been battle-tested. They have proven that they can win the big one here, but unfortunately, only one of these teams is going to be able to walk away with that championship.
Yeah, and that's prize money as well. Obviously, they both played fantastic seasons, but maybe with this shift onto the newer patch, there's going to be a bit of a change in how this match is going to go. Of course, before we get into the nitty-gritty, we would like to remind you that we do have the CGL GOATS tournament that is going to be played January 4th all the way through January the 12th with a pretty funky prize pool, if I do say so myself. So make sure you do sign up, make sure you do get involved, because it is the premier GOATS tournament. Now we aren't in 2019 anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously that first weekend dedicated to the Swiss bracket. Then of course we'll get to the playoff brackets the weekend afterwards, and that'll be streamed as well, so you'll be able to enjoy some GOATS action throughout both of those weekends. But speaking of enjoying ourselves with a little bit of Overwatch, I mean, Spectron, this being the last day, there is a lot to enjoy, as there are 4 different games. They're going to be finishing up 4 different divisions. Of course, we got this Yuurei Mirari versus 0907 game, but at the same time, we got Special Forces and the God Stack happening over on CGL 2, and then, of course, later on tonight, BSC Bobcats VA and Tanuki going to be going at it at 19 EST, or more so 7 p.m. EST. And an hour after that, Short Bus, YE, Snowfall going at each other. I mean, we have these pack days like occasionally, of course, Spectrum, but on a final day like this, it is so fantastic to have such amazing games to finish out the season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'm most excited for this game, but I end up working it. But we've got just a huge amount of matches. So if you want to finish farming your CGL points, or just really enjoy the action, it is going to be a pretty bloody good day for you. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty then of the matchup that we've got on our hands. Of course, Yuurei Mirari v0907 take a final gander at this bracket. I don't believe these teams have played, at least in the playoffs, but we can use, you know, some of the matches that we've seen in that previous to make a judgment. Obviously, Yuurei Mirari winning over Completely Melted 3-2. 0907 losing to that same team in a similar scoreline. But, you know, after that loss came through, 0907 have been on an absolute tear through this lower bracket, right? 3-1 over Big Man Ting, 3-0 over Everfrog, 3-1 over Completely Melted on a great lower bracket run. And, of course, off their win in Face It League, then they are looking absolutely heated up to, and on the top form to defeat their opponents.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, into the situation, it gets a little hard to kind of pick a favorite in this situation because, of course, you have a team that clearly has seemed vulnerable, but yet they won the mid-season tournament and have looked very strong in the lower bracket. But when you look at this Yuurei Mirari squad, again, they have performed great throughout the playoffs. They've done some amazing things, and to only drop a few maps apiece in there, it's not something that is very easy to achieve. But speaking of that Yuurei Mirari team, here are they coming right now, making their way through that upper bracket. Of course, going to have Zero and Pikapuri over on the DPS lineup, Santi over on tank, and of course, Cynics and Desi over on support. And again, a team that has performed, I won't even say beyond expectations. I would say this is a team that was built to succeed from the start and has done so very efficiently so.
Yeah, I want to put a special focus onto Piku Kerpu here. I think has been playing absolutely fantastically all throughout the CGL season. When given a chance to lock that hit scan, is an absolute force of nature in that lobby. Definitely somebody to keep your eye on, especially if Yuurei Mirari figure out a way to force an Ashe, a Widow, a Sojourn. We can see their opposition as well, 0907, in just a second here. Going to be Condi, Bones, Willies, Jonowich, and Doki. Gotta say, of course, I think Jonowich and Doki have been playing together for a while, as memory serves. Willies is actually a project, I believe, 15 years old, and looking like one of the best tanks in CGL EU Open tier. And Condi and Bones, when combined, seem to be kind of on the same page for 24/7. An incredibly strong roster, and should be great competition for Yuurei Mirari.
Yep, 100%. We've seen all these players kind of take the opportunity to bounce back, like we said earlier, to get knocked down in that very first round. And for some teams, it can be very hard to bounce back from being dropped in that very first round. But they kept taking win after win. I should note, a good chunk of the wins they took in that lower bracket were teams that got knocked down by Yuurei Mirari. And in some cases, 107 actually performed better against those teams got knocked down than Yuurei Mirari did, taking them down to lower brackets. So either way, it's something that we can only speculate on spec. We won't know until we truly get into the game. But do you know what our first map is going to be? I believe in this case with Yuurei Mirari, coming from the upper bracket, it is their pick. And we're going to be starting out the lovely land of Samoa.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable choice. Normally, Samoa is going to be a smidgen more brawly than some of the other maps. I think that typically this shows to me that Yuurei Mirari might want to start on something like a Queen, like a Mauga. Arissa's would work here as well, so they do have options. But generally, you know, you pick Samoa, you don't want to play Monkey. That's the extent of it. So we'll see exactly what they end up playing. Of course, we got to see both these teams play all throughout the playoffs before, but considering we're getting deeper into Season 14, and considering they might have adjusted towards each other, then realistically, there's still a lot of variance here, a lot of variability between what these sides might want to end up bringing to the table.
Yeah, 100%. Something we're going to have to see right now. Control usually a very good map type to be able to show us what teams seem to be very comfortable and perhaps not as comfortable running right now, but we should be able to see what their favorite compositions are going to be. And of course, the way the meta has kind of shifted up in the air, there's a little bit more room in that category to kind of move around a little bit. We see teams kind of moving, some of them moving away from the Mauga, some getting more comfortable running things like the Orisa, like the Junker Queen, and of course, if we could run Hazard, probably would, but you know, that's for a different time in that retrospect. But either way, it kind of gives away that this ability for tanks to kind of show off their skill a bit more. But if there's one thing that kind of has the most flexibility in terms of roles, it's going to be that DPS role.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. You've got maybe 3-4 tank options, you know, maybe 5 or 6 if we think about dive maps. But on that DPS, it feels like half the cast is so viable. Support is obviously still held hostage by Juno Break. That thing is not going away any time soon. But no, absolutely. Zero, Piku, Condi, Bones, they're the ones who've got the options. They're the ones who're going to have an opportunity to frag, to carry. And they're the ones who could be the make or break between a first place finish or having to settle for second. Of course, going to start here by the looks of things on Beach. And have to wait and see exactly what they want to end up playing.
Yeah. It's always fascinating. We find the crabs. We always have to shout out the crabs. The crabs are very nicely done. I want to say that much. As gonna let these rosters form out a little bit here, because spec obviously nothing is solid until we get out the gate. But Willie's right here starting on the Malga wouldn't be surprising in the slightest.
I would very much not be surprised. Bones probably goes Reaper, Echo, Genji here. Yuurei Mirari on the Zarya. Oh, this is what they're playing. Okay, I like this. So Desi's gonna die basically when anybody looks at him, but in exchange, your cooldowns are so punishing towards zone 907.
Yep, 100%. Nade can be very effective in that situation. And eventually, I mean, Willie's going to find a situation where they're going to have to try to go on Santi and force bubbles away. So, got to be a little mindful of that right now. But as you said before, Desi needs to be careful in the situation. There's a reason why they are all the way in the back right now. Nyx is kind of just sitting by to protect them as Willie goes in for a bit of a charge. Doesn't quite find anything as the point has unlocked right now. And now it's back in this situation right now. It's all about the survivability right now. Yuurei Mirari are content to kind of take a bit of their time.
Yeah, I mean, they have to, right? They can't really do anything aggressive when Santi doesn't have bubbles. So a lot of this is just going to be waiting for Santi to get into a healthy spot with those protected bubbles to actually try and fight.
Yeah, Santi gonna take one down with it right now, but you lose your tank early, makes it a very difficult situation to kind of come back right now. As Piku gonna see if they can find something here, but Bones will be able to get out alive, and for the time being, you just gotta reset and wait for your Zarya.
All you can really do. Santi is going to be incredibly powerful when he actually has 2 barriers to fight with, but when they're constantly used to peel for people or to care himself, then you see how scared he has to play, and eventually will just evaporate. Looks to be back, the push comes through, but the pressure only onto Willie's isn't going to mean much.
Ooh. Yeah, gonna go in while anti-nated. Willie making a very bold decision, but has the cardiac overdrive to live for a while right now. Gonna basically drill it into Santi here, but then it comes out. Willie gonna have a really tough time living through this one. It's gonna force everybody away. Eventually, it's gonna force over a cap for a moment, but there is a last second touch, and now it's all about investing to try to win this right now. As Daki went for the investment right there with that orbital ray, but for the moment right now, we don't know if it's gonna work out quite yet. It is still the advantage to Yuurei Mirari, and it is be growing as the fight continues. Point eventually gonna flip over at a solid 65%. At the end of the day, you trade the 1-for-1 on support.
Yeah, this is how this comp is supposed to work, right? Piku has got all the time in the world to lob railguns in. Slightly disadvantaged against Condi, but is still finding good work done. But Santi is just able to win out that tank trade, punish so effectively. And so Yuurei Mirari get their first flip, but plenty of time left to go before they have any sort of lead.
Yep, 100%. This grab could be very deadly in this situation, mainly because you can pair it together with the blade. You can throw the nade on top of it as well. Give yourself a better shot of pretty much trying to obliterate them. But Blade comes aligning. They're going to go into everything to get with it, Willie. It's going to work out right now. Zero has gotten one. Is trying to find a second right now, but just going to result in pushing bodies away. And now for 097, again, going to have to take a reset. As seriously?
That's unfortunate, but no, I think you're right. That's unfortunate for Phoenix, but at the end of the day, Yuurei Mirari didn't need it, right? They win the fight, they spend 2 ults. Yeah, one doesn't go off, but it's all good in the hood. On 97 with significant ult advantage here, a perfect grab from Santi would be he grabs nothing.
Yeah! Grabs absolutely diddly squat, but the fight's still both ways right now. Willie is super low. Bones hasn't found anything besides the one pick. Condi is trying to find something, and eventually he's going to try to hunt down Desi, who's literally 1 health. Eventually goes down, but Zero getting some instant revenge as there's a nice stomp. Eventually is going to force over right now, and unfortunately, not going to see the finish for Santi there. Unfortunately, the grab, I mean, providing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the Nene grab, not what you love to see here in our CGL finals. Silver lining is 097 did overspend a little bit in that fight, so the OC from Piku, the only checkmark online for anybody, could be huge here.
Yeah, it will be. This could be a final fight as well right now, as Piku might be the last savior of this team right now, with Santi still very much alive, trying to gather as much energy as possible, making it tough for Willie to do whatever they want to do right now. You see the pressure being delivered right now. Is that point getting close to being capped over right now, and will get capped over for free, so that's going to kind of leave a little bit of space for things to calm down right now for Yuurei Mirari. They got the nano, going to throw it directly onto Santi, going to go in. Willie going to have to try to survive with that cardiac overdrive, but is forced to get out of there instead. And now very much final fight online. Daki does have the orbital ray ready to go, and for Yuurei Mirari, I mean, they just don't have a response for this orbital ray. This is going to be extremely deadly.
You need an aid. You need an aid to punish. That's your only way to find victory for a Sojourn Rail. Rays pops, and Yuurei Mirari so far haven't hit anything.
Yeah, and this is going to go down very quickly, unfortunately, right now. Not going to have any else to keep them up right now. Santi's sitting 90% right now, but they need to go back and hit a touch. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, the ult advantage just went into the favor of 097 in the situation, taking away the first round. And at the end of the day, Yuurei Mirari, they fought strong. Just a couple of unfortunate misplays on their ult economy.
Yeah, I think things getting away from him a little bit. I think Santi not just struggling on this area, but you know, trying to find the balance, right, in how much energy you can actually farm. Here, just decides to mirror out the Malga with the Juno Break. I think this is easier. I think this is more consistent. But it's just going to come down now in this essential full mirror, right, to who finds more Malga Slam value. It's as simple as that. Cardiac is pretty consistent. It's kind of hard to not find value from your Cardiacs. The slams that are going to be absolutely everything. Both teams sim TP out, of course. They want that extra spacing. We see the Genji mirror, the full mirror, ult economy, Malga slams. Those are the only things that matter.
Yep, 100%. We'll see how the ult academy goes down in this situation right now. It's obviously the most vulnerable that can be in this situation sometimes does end up being the Braves. Ends up being a really good target for the Malgas at times to kind of go in with that charge and stomp down. But we're going to see right now is Yuurei Mirari have taken this approach to the inside to try to see if they can find some success there as they're going to slam into each other, crossing the stun. But right now, point flipping over in terms of 0907 as Santi is going to get deleted before they can even think about touching the point. And with that, the rest of Yuurei Mirari is hoping to try to get out alive, but they trade tanks. So if Yuurei Mirari and also 0907 both get a quick reset, we could have another very quick engagement.
You probably don't even wait for the reset. You probably just start pushing in, right? You know that you've got slight advantage with the respawns, and they can't stop you from walking. You might as well just, you know, force the space and see what happens.
Yeah, you see right now in that situation, have a little bit of touch under the point right now if you're Bones, but at this point, you're kind of just taking away a few more ticks of percentage right now because this fight's going to be really tough to win. But again, Santi gets found out there without the Cardiac ready to go. And unfortunately, it's going to be, again, another fight when Unknown 7 going to take it away. And this time, they're going to clean it up properly.
Yeah, I think there we did very much see Santi, by the other things, get split from support LOS. Just tucking in the corner is generally good, but when Malga can just sprint into those off angles really, really quickly, then it just meant that it absolutely melted. A great situation for Yuurei Mirari once they got that pick onto the brig. Unfortunately, does not go their way. Orbital rate closed for Yuurei Mirari, but advantage for Doki means that they probably just pop it here.
Yeah, you can't blame them in the slightest right now. You don't need anything more than that in that situation either. Desi, he's just got to try to see if they can do something. The point is slightly flipping, but unfortunately, it's just going to be a reset as Santi going to take a quick reset, give themselves another fight. But with this already kind of going by, this is realistically already going to be final fight territory.
I think Yuurei Mirari have to invest their own right here, of course. 0907's only real way of countering it is going for a cage blade and like assassinating the Juno really fast here, but that's exactly what they're looking to do.
Yeah, and they're going to go double dash right now, but not quite going to find anything right now, though. We hear Zero going for that blade, has managed to find one onto John, which is 0907. Now going to be in a situation where they have to wonder if they want to invest further in this fight right now, as it's going to go over. It looks like 0907 content to just reset for only a moment as they're actually going to go in and try to take a fight. It's going to be forcing out a couple of ultimates from both sides right now. Gandhi going to get deleted but right now, but does manage to take Desi with them as they go down. As Piku has come away with one, has come away with two, and that's the cleanup that Yuurei Mirari needed to bring themselves back into the map.
That they did, but you know, realistically, they probably should have been able to win out that fight with only the Orbital Ray. The fact that they only get the one gives 0907 a chance. So what we end up seeing is what could have been a 1 ult fight turns into a 4 ult 1, and it's just a cage now. Play into 0907. Huge ult advantage here. I'm very curious to see if they even have a chance here on Volcano.
Yeah, it's going to be rough right now, and it pretty much has to be a collapse of the ultimate there. They just solo grab Zero with the cage fight. It's a brave choice right now, but either way, it's just the blade sitting by right now, and that could be it for this map right here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bones has come away with one, is slicing and dicing away at Santi and PQ, doing their job to survive. Unfortunately, it ain't going to happen, and now it's about finding a touch, and it's probably going to have to come off the back of Zero.
Yeah, they'll be able to get overtime started, one would very much hope. Obviously, we don't see a Sombra or a Tracer together, but Zero and the Genji should still find a possibility. Got Phoenix back on that Lucio, but okay, you sacrifice your loot just to get OT started, not what you love to see.
Yeah, the stop does hit very nicely onto Bones, though, and it's going to eventually cause them going down. So it's a 4v4 right now. As the Orbital Ray could be the factor that makes this their win right now, as Daki going to be helping out the squad. But Kandi has found one. The picks going one after another. Yuurei Mirari just trying to fall onto the point. Unfortunately, it is just the stall game as 0907 going to take the 2-0 on Suo to get things started and put themselves in a very healthy spot to start the series.
Yeah, the team from the lower bracket so far looking pretty comfortably on top. Samoa going very much so in their favor. And though we see some contention from Yuurei Mirari, then I think there's a reason why 097 were that Face It League champion. Obviously a great OC here from PQ, but unfortunately just too heavy a spend in this fight. In such an ult-centric, ult-economy-focused meta, it's not really going to work out in your favor. So 1-0 in favor of 097. Now going to be the map pick of Yuurei Mirari.
Yeah, now they gotta consider what they want to do in this situation right here, because they were still winning a very good chunk of fights during this kind of amalgam year right now. So the question becomes whether or not you want to try and just keep that going, or if you want to kind of take the second map to experiment, not in the sense of trying out something entirely brand new, but in terms of saying, hey, this is our other comp we like to run on these specific maps. Let's see if this works. And if it does work, expect we're probably going to be in a situation where it's going to keep going back and forth between these styles, between these map choices. So I'm kind of excited to see which route they want to go down, because I genuinely think they could go either way, and it wouldn't really be an issue no matter what, personally.
Okay, so I think we can see what the pick is. I'm gonna... That's interesting. I'll definitely... We'll wait for the graphic to come up, though, before the producers get annoyed at us. But no, I think Yuurei Mirari have gone for a pretty reasonable pick here. I think it's I think it shows what they want to put their faith into. I'll put it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we saw them try the Zarya comp before. I would expect them to not play it here. But they probably could. They probably could. I didn't mind the idea there. Like I said, I just thought Santi was getting those bubbles bled out really quite quickly. So if they want to try playing that again, I feel like as long as they're able to mitigate some of that kind of random spam that kept chunking him down, then I feel like it still could work pretty well. But we can take a look at what the map is going to be. It's going to be an Eikendalda, as you'll be able to see in just a second. I mean, long sightlines, a little bit of verticality. I would very much imagine that this is going to be Yuurei Mirari putting all their faith into PQ just to really have some value in these extended pokes, in these long sightlines where hit scan is just on top. And in terms of the kind of tank line, in terms of the back line, normally you play ground tanks here. Attacking castle kind of sucks for them, but you might as well firm it, right? First point, so good for ground tanks. Third point, especially, very strong for ground tanks. So we'll see exactly what they want to end up playing. But to me, it will probably be more of the Malga.
Yeah, I have to agree in this situation, especially you get over towards that third point where it very much is going to have a strong effect here. Indoors, that brawl style is just going to work out beautifully. So, but obviously, you got to get there in the first place. We have seen teams throughout the season get full held here that get held at the bridge by second point. We've seen it many times over. So it's all about trying to make it there, try to make it happen. As things are right now, no swaps as... Normally, these are the 10 players that have played on these teams throughout the entirety of the season. The solid 5 of each squad as we get into Eichenwald. And this is always a really cool shot. I don't know. It reminds me of Dark Souls with that shot. I don't know why, but it just does.
No, I kind of see the vision, to be honest. Although I feel like I haven't seen that shot as many times as you, at least. Ram. Okay, we have been seeing Ram find some more success in Season 14. Feels like every single time there's some sort of, like, buff towards DPS, nerf towards tanks, Ram just finds more value because you can just block to be immortal, right? Plus, you've got that staff to help extend your poke phase to find that extra value. Zero on the Echo, again, you're so strong at poke, you're able to take these brawls with your Juno Break backline, with your Ram going in for punch, if Zero plays somewhat safe. But it's very much a hybrid composition here. 0907, look to... By those things mirror out with the Ram. The backline, we'll have to wait and see if Condi finds a hook shot. Because we've seen value found here before. But equally, it is very much a Hail Mary.
Yeah, kind of is in this situation. But if it works, it can work beautifully. Unfortunately, we'll not find the opening shot as they're all going to make a very, very quick transition to match out their mantra with the Juno Brig. So only difference really is in the DPS lineups in this situation right now. So the situation, you're hoping PQ can kind of get away with a lot of shots. You keep kind of holding down their angle. But as things are right now, you kind of want to take your sweet time here and set up and get these angles all ready to go.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on the backline already. Yeah, Bones is just frying.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation. That's going to be a very quick fight for 0907. And with the fact that they only lost one, I mean, there's no realistic retouch. And in fact, they're going to get the pick on the way out, too.
Yes, the disadvantage with the Echo is that you suck as a duelist, right? Bones can just take that space essentially for free, right? And as soon as he's there, the rest of 097 can walk out, and it's a very quick fight loss for Yuurei Mirari. Swap over to that Diva for Castle, I don't mind, but I'm not sure it addresses the problems they just experienced.
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very quick swap as well, and it could to an extent, but Santi being on the Diva doesn't really stop the Ramatra from running down this backline if we get the opportunity in that situation. So I'm curious to see how it works down, as Santi is kind of content to kind of hang around here, as Zero's going to die very early in the fight, like way out in the backline. So for me, Yuurei Mirari, I mean, you can't do much except hope that Piku gets a good shot, honestly.
No, that's all you really can do. Willies is somewhat chunked and is knocked off the higher ground. Bones low as well. This is a decent spot for them, but they still need to convert. As you mentioned, Zero is still not back in that fight. Has been struggling on the Echo so far, and I think would love a bit of a step up in performance.
Yep, 100%, but Alt's trying to come around the corner for some of these players. But now Santi is, despite the fact that they swapped, likely going to have the first ultimate for their team around a corner here. Willie going to be forced to use this Nemesis form just to be able to survive right now. Is, I'll say, a very unideal place to be if I were a tank in this situation right now. And Channel Witch, who's going to rally to try to survive, unfortunately, not going to pay off. And with Willie being surrounded by the enemy, 0907 eventually be put to a stop, and will have to hit the regroup as Ult economy shaping up for both of these spots.
Yeah, I think Yuurei Mirari do seem much more comfortable on this defense, just generally speaking. I think it definitely is their bread and butter when it comes to playing. And now, as you mentioned, Ult's economy is shaking up. They've got the higher grounds. 0907 forced to walk through choke. Yuurei Mirari in a much healthier spot now.
Yeah, now the question is, how do you react to the situation? You see them trying to go behind. Unfortunately, doesn't quite catch anybody right now. But Condi does end up going down before the engagement fully begins. And now, unfortunately, for 0907, you can't even invest anything into this fight. You just have to just take the prolonged deaths, unfortunately. So Rush not working out is, again, they're just very willing to kind of just pincer behind them instead.
And this is the orbital Ray fight that Yuurei Mirari wished they got back on Samoa, right? Where they overspent, they didn't find enough value. This time, absolutely not the case. They get that assassination first onto Condi and just use the Ray to close things out. So now, 4 ults apiece. Yuurei Mirari might want to go proactively so that Doki can't set up his own ultimate.
100%. You can see it right now, kind of just hanging around the point right now. In some situations, that can work. Just put a tank over on the point to be able to kind of keep things going. But unfortunately, Bones is down. So once again, 0907 a situation where you can't really invest, but Doki is going to go for it anyway, try to take the orbital ray and make a 4v5 into a more fair situation right now, trying to find a pick. Unfortunately, hasn't really found anything, and so now they're going to double down with the Annihilation. Willie already experiencing a lot of trouble, going to get burned down there. And unfortunately, while it is making some slow progress right now, 0907 have essentially hit a wall here.
Maybe not. That pick on Zero does make it a little bit awkward. We'll see if Santi is capable of finding a trade, because if not, it might be some free push here for an 0907.
Eventually get it going. Rough scenario there for a moment for them, but Willie being over on the Winston, I like the swap in the situation. You can play full speed, you can engage with Bones in that situation. It's backline a little more easy to dive, but Santi's going to go in, go with a remake right there. Unfortunately, not going to cause anything to happen. So 0907, gotta get this cart moving. Yuurei Mirari get realistically one more fight.
Yeah, they will be able to recontest at the very least. Duke Bob makes it a pretty comfortable one as well. Well, the first awkward thing though, just getting that touch.
Yeah, Bob hanging out there. Realize you can't do a lot. It's hard to kind of drain Bob with what you have right now. With Bones down that early. Bones was maybe in the worst spot possible right now, Sound, which somehow goes off the side of the map, but I believe that was just a bit of an intentional reset.
Yeah, Yuurei Mirari gonna be happy with this. Obviously, they only use the bomb. They get the stop. This time, Mank, remember, once was 5+ minutes. Now whittled down to 1.5. This defensive second has been a clinical piece of work from Yuurei Mirari, but there's still left to do. There's still progress that needs to be knocked off, and with that orbital ray, it might be more possible than ever to see a stop here on second.
Yeah, because if they try to invest down here, but they're going to go right over towards the point, looks like instead, and John going to go down to the burn. That means no rally, and for Yuurei Mirari, that means they don't have to invest a single thing, and they are not going to at all. That cart is going to keep slowly rolling back, as well as Yuurei Mirari just have such a hold on this high ground.
They're just impossible to shift, right? Normally what you want to do, if you're playing a brawl into this, would be to rotate up high grounds and then blow up the backline. But we saw that consistently Zero, Piku, and Santi harass the walk way too much to do that. If you play a dive, you basically want to collapse them as fast as possible, but there's so much defensive cooldowns, right, with the break in general, with that defense matrix, that they're really struggling to go down. 097 seem a little bit lost in how to solve this. Maybe the Blade of Bones is going to be enough, though.
Yeah, it's going to force them to drop all down here in a weird situation right now. As Connie does get that big on-take, so things going right now. Overbreak going to be invested, though. Because Willie is going to be forced to use their own Primal Rage. And right now, that cart could be a surprise. And Willie is considering just putting a body on this cart. Looks like they will. But with how much it's kind of gone back, you don't get the opportunity to kind of take advantage of that idea as much as you possibly could. But Numbers Game is starting to play a bit of a factor here as spawns start coming back as 097 getting pick after pick. The bomb going to be invested. Willie does not have a shield, so unfortunately just have to retract.
Yeah, well, they're also inside the duel between Rally's Blade as well into Desi. This is so chaotic, but surely this is going to be 097 getting it over the line.
Yeah, there's nothing to really stop that from happening. Zero would just be throwing their copy into the trash if they tried to stop it. So they take the reset, and now Willie immediately going back to make the swap.
But considering they got it down to overtime, I gotta say, this is a successful hold for Yuurei Mirari. Obviously, 097 are going to be plenty happy. They get into the castle. But now, both sides swapping over their tanks. Yuurei Mirari even swapping the backline as well. Queen versus Ram now. This is a very different matchup.
Yeah, 100% right now. 097 have still have a couple fights to make it working right now. We're going to see the investment here right now. 097, the two ultimates they had left in the tank right there, trying to make it work. It looks like at the end of the day, it's going to result in them getting a nice, healthy amount of percent, or more so, of meters here. But they are going to lose Condi, so if they get pushed, they might be forced to just back off.
Yeah, the Queen does not respond that well to heavy damage, as we just saw there. Zero on the Genji, going to fit the composition a little bit more, but it has to be a Bob recontest to stop the cap.
Yeah, you're going to see whether or not they want to invest hard in this fight and try to get the Bob out. Unfortunately, I don't think they have the ability to do so. They are going to get forced to get out of here, but the Bob's going to get invested, and that means everybody for 097 should get out immediately, because that is what you're winning for. And if you can keep alive Willie, you're going to be set. But unfortunately, now 097 has to back out, and now they have to pray they can get a good setup touch at this point.
And if you're Yuurei Mirari, you want to hard shoot bridge as much as possible. If Piku finds a pick here, then that could spell the map, but it seems like they don't want to play super heavily for it. 5 seconds left to go. Is a touch even possible?
It has to be possible to get the speed, and then realistically, Willie has to be the one to get the jump and get in there, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. That's what happens when you lose your tank and your engagement like that in that situation. They pretty much had to keep Willie alive in that situation if they wanted any hope of a fair final fight.
Indeed. Great work from Yuurei Mirari. I think their first point obviously really sucked for them. It really did shoot them in the foot for how the rest of this map was going to go. But the fact they could, really just step up. After they lost first point, the only kind of awkward fight they lost was the first on third. But because of that, such a huge gap opened up. Obviously, getting it to stop 60 meters through second, still a success for 097, but considering what kind of advantage they had, I think you've got to be proud of yourself if you are Yuurei Mirari. I think we really did get to see that Diva comp really is their strength. I don't think their Queen looked as clean, as clinical. So I think for Yuurei Mirari, we have to see them just crack first. That's going to be the issue, I would imagine. Second, I have to imagine, right, they would just be a little bit cleaner, be a little bit more comfortable, because that Echo Sojin Diva was just so impressive.
Yeah, insanely so here. Now you're hoping right now in the situation, if you are Yuurei Mirari, they can come out here in this first or second fight and take it away, just like 097 was able to kind of drill through on their initial attack. So, gonna see if they're gonna be able to do it right now. 097 want to be able to take as much time off as possible right now, because it can be hard to get that full hold onto Eichenwald, but gonna see if it's gonna be doable or not. And I like the fact that once again we have that DPS mirror on both sides.
Indeed.
But, oh yeah. But
okay, that's awkward.
Yeah, that's. I don't think that's the place you wanted to fight. If you're Mirari, I don't think that was the idea, but 097 just willing to kind of play up in that scenario right now. His first fight ready to get engaged right now. Is everyone trying to play as safe as they can? You see the loop around right now is Willie's not in the most ideal of places right now. He's kind of trying to go behind right now and it's forcing a trade that Willie is kind of taking the advantage of right now, but Zero to kind of back them up a little bit right now, but right now trying to see if Zero can kind of cut everybody off. That was a brave dive to go in. Unfortunately, it won't pay off as Santi is just has to try to escape.
Well, or reset, right? I imagine you can survive. Your backline swings at just the right time. But Yuurei Mirari finding decent success on that first fight, but no actual progress. They'd have to hope they were ahead in ults for something, and they're not as well. So, unfortunately, not too much they get out of a fight that comes quite close.
Yeah, they might not know this Annihilation's about to hit around the corner. Willie might die, though, honestly. Willie is sitting super low, needs to heal his others, you know. Whew, will eventually get it right now. And again, this Annihilation's ready, and I mean, Spec, there's not anything that can stop it, as we're seeing they're going in right now. Bone's going to help clean things around for 0-7. Looking to make it a clean fight. You don't want to drop anybody if you don't have to. You won't trade out one, but you are fine with that early ult to get things going here and taking off a lot of time on the clock.
At the end of the day, though, Yuurei Mirari do have closer spawns, and losing the Sojin means that Yuurei Mirari will have a free walk up through that choke, right? There's so much pick pressure, so much spam damage that you simply don't have to eat. So I'd imagine that Yuurei Mirari do want to go fast here and try and engage with their own orbital ray.
Yep, Bones getting found out there. Blaze gonna go online anyway, gonna go down, gonna see if they can find something, but Willie has already gone down, and Bones gets pulled down, and Daki tried to help out with that overlay. Unfortunately, the combo does not pay off right now, as Annihilation gonna get activated right now, as things are still trading out. Unfortunately, everybody is in a confined room with a Ramatra, who is currently annihilating. That is, I'll be honest, not the ideal spot to be. So with all these late picks, I mean, 097's retouch is non-existent, realistically.
Yeah. Okay, so they're able to get through first. It's not as clean as you'd like to see. Yeah, that touch would have been terrible anyway. So they get the cap, they get that time to make extension, and even though they are coming up on ults, maybe I see Santi just go straight back to spawn now.
Yeah, and yeah, they are. They're actually going right back to the D.Va. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, considering how it worked last time. Yep, D.Va it is going to be. So I'm curious how this is going to work, Spectron, on the attack rather than the defense, honestly.
Have to wait and see, but probably just fly high ground and just play like they're on the defense anyway.
Yeah, just try to find somebody to kind of hunt down right now. Is eventually going to make the way up to Condi, who's going to just get out of dodge in that situation. Santi going to get forced out right now. It's taking a lot of attention, as Condi going to go online with the overclock. Rough situation to Zero, going to kind of chop away with them with the play right now, opening the door for Yuurei Mirari, who just invested 3 ultimates in that fight, but 007 gave 2 right now, so trying to see if they can find some picks. At the very least, they are taking time away, and they're taking away bodies, apparently, as Nyx ends up going down. Daki, a bit of a rough spot right now, as eventually 007 is going to fall over, stall on the cart, but at the very least, you managed to get 3 ultimates out and stall out for some time.
That you do. Pretty happy about this if you're realistically either side here. Jonowich, yeah, likely to go down. And so the payload is going to continue on forward. Yeah, going to go over Echo, very likely. That's exactly what we saw, remember, on that previous. So I do think that Genji is maybe a little bit easier here. They do want that burst damage. They do want that tank pressure. And especially when Willie's is coming up to another Annihilation, that can be more useful than ever here. Just as the cart goes under the bridge. But that's the issue with the Echo, right? You just fold to pressure like that.
Yeah, unfortunate situation now for Yuurei Mirari. It's about getting out everybody alive. Unfortunately, everyone might be getting back the hard way right here, as they've already gotten 2 on the way out, but it looks like everybody else should be able to reset properly, as ult is coming back online for both teams right now.
Yeah, that it does. I mean, obviously they're going to have the self-destruct for Santi. That's not the strongest ability here, sorry. The orbital ray from Desi, though, could be huge. They need to farm it up first, though.
Yeah, Willie went for the...
first again.
Yeah, unfortunately, and Willie went for the drop there. It's a bit of a risk, but right now it seems to be paying off, as we're sitting a little under 2 minutes right now. And again, everyone taking a quick reset right here. That's...
I will say, I'm not a crazy fan of this Echo. I do think that the Genji just responds to pressure so much better, and what you lose out in damage isn't that much, because we've seen Zero die first 2-3 times in a row now.
Yeah, and now you're not getting any charge either right now, as Willie has got rid of Zero. Bones is going to double down. They use 2 ults to win this fight. Very quick fashion. Not sure if you play Needed both in that scenario right now, but either way, it just takes more and more time off this clock.
That it does. Yuurei Mirari will have significant ult advantage in this upcoming fight. The Annihilation isn't very strong into the orbital ray specifically, so if Yuurei Mirari are able to just take a brawl fight, they probably win this out.
Yeah, but if you're 907, you want to get this out more than anything. That's why they're taking a quicker engagement. They want to see if they can run down Nyx right now, and it's going to get the orbital ray. It's what they were hoping for. They're going to double down the Annihilation, though. Going to try to make it eat those words as they have helped get rid of one right now. But you're going to get knocked back to that cart, making some slow progress. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be another failed attempt here to get this thing rolling for Yuurei Mirari. 4 ults going into a final fight.
they're not so upset about that, right? You trade Annihilation for Ray, and while it's not perfect, like you mentioned, they got forwards coming into this next fight. They can go for a Ram dupe, a Genji dupe, plenty of comfortable options for them, but this has been, unfortunately, not the success that they wanted to see on second here. As you mentioned, one final fight, a pick here from Condi or Bones could spell the end of Yuurei Mirari on Eichenfeld.
Yeah, if we're talking realistically, depending on how this fight goes, we could be looking at needing multiple fight wins to make in there right now. As Pika's going to see if they can get out, getting tapped away right now, but Willie is not having as much success this time around. Eventually going to get dropped down as 0907, going to be forced to get out of dodge and reset. And Santi going to be forced to use the bomb and the remake to make it back in. So Yuurei Mirari going in with just a rally to their name.
That's not so bad, right? Especially when you're only going against an overclock. That's not a bad matchup, especially considering you can just bash out the Soj on these shorter sidelines here. Yuurei Mirari still in with a very healthy chance.
Yep. Could realistically go either way here. If you can shut down Condi, this could be a brilliant win right now. So they're going to go in with the rally. Going to try to see if they can get a knockaround right now. And that is exactly what you were hoping for right now. Docking doing their best to stay alive and really getting to support. Unfortunately, the numbers game is eventually going to play his factor. While the spawns are also way closer for 0907, it doesn't quite matter. As Bones is trying to stall for as long as they can. It's not going to matter. And now it's going to all come down to the castle. Minute and a half and alt rotations very far away for both teams. More specifically, even heavily for Yuurei Mirari.
I mean, again, this is where we saw them swap over to that Junker Queen with that Kiri Lucio. No, I'm not a crazy fan of the Kiri Lucio. Happy we stay with their Juno break, a little bit more healthy on that brawl. And while the Queen cycles aren't as natural as fast, in exchange, you do have these harder engages. So Yuurei Mirari just hoping for a knife, hoping for a Soul Trail.
Yep, Blade is ready right now. Gonna cut away right now. Bones already getting rid of two right now. And Connie gonna help clean things around. That's the fight you're hoping for to get things going. Some slight stall on Santi because why not? They will build some ult charge, but not in the realm of things that's gonna matter a ton. But they still managed to get to halfway in counting. That's, I mean, that ult charge is gonna come in very nicely in 40 seconds potentially though. Spec.
Yeah, what you really need to do though is int damage for 30 seconds to farm up Desi's Ray. If you don't have Ray in this fight, there's nothing you can do. You'd love to finish off this rampage, of course. That's not fully realistic, so the Ray is necessary to just survive.
Yeah, because right now, you're looking at it right now, you could be looking at just trying to end it with the Annihilation and that Orbital Ray, but the Orbital Ray gets used very aggressively, and Santi does go down as a result, so now these get very scary because somebody has to set up a touch, and it just might have to be Zero.
It's gonna be, right? There's no one else who can really do it, but this Genji pokes out and eliminates it. I don't think anyone can get towards the objective. They've got to sprint, but is it even possible? Doesn't look like it. Both times, the teams can't make it to the car at all, but 0907 with that extra distance go up 2-0 in our series.
Way closer this time around. We saw the success they're able to have right now. If you're a Mirror, they got a lot of success over on the D.Va composition, but it worked way better on the defense for them than it did on their own attack right there. And then unfortunately, making those swaps mean you kind of have to give away what little ult economy you had in that situation. You said yourself, the job right there is you had to work up to Desi's orbital ray. You had to play the slow. Unfortunately, your tank gets caught out, and that is worst case scenario in that situation. So unfortunately, it's a situation where Yuurei Mirari has to kind of give themselves an opportunity to bounce back. And the bright side is, it is a first to 4 spec. They get multiple opportunities still to pick maps and try to make something happen. But I mean, if you go down 3-0, I mean, it's such an unbelievable hill to kind of climb off of, and we rarely ever see that happen, except for yesterday, of course, where it literally happened. But let's take that statistic elsewhere.
Yeah, but you know, I think the way that Yuurei Mirari played that, right, the full split, make it so only one person dies, so the ult investment, that's a good play if they have an extra 10 seconds. But unfortunately, being that low on time is just a great move from 0907 to make it impossible for Yuurei Mirari to win out the map. I believe we're going to go to a short break now. When we're back, we should have the continuation of this series. Will Yuurei Mirari be able to battle their way back in, or will 0907 just cruise their way to a victory? Find out in a little bit.
Lots of love. Got lots of love. Got lots of love. Love. Got lots of love. Love. Got lots of love. Love.
Already into the series, the mid-season champions making an impression here in the grand finals, already putting themselves up in 2-0 fashion here against Yuurei Mirari, a team that has had the honor to be able to sit here waiting for their opponent. But at this time right now, 0907 seemed very eager to get here to prove that they should have made it through the upper bracket in the first place, as I mean, Spec, we've seen it with our own eyes in this situation. Some miscues by both teams right now, but 0907, I mean, structurally doing a really, really good job of just remaining comfortable and confident in what they're running.
Just been getting over the line a tad more than what their opponents have been. Yuurei Mirari have been somewhat struggling. Hopefully after that break, they've had a chance to address what issues they maybe think they've been struggling with. you know, reset their mental and come back into map number 3 refresh. Remember, this is a first of 4 series, so even if Yuurei Mirari lose this next map, they will still have one more to battle back from. But speaking of that next map, right, then we can take a gander on exactly what it's going to be. We've got Dorado coming up for you. It feels like almost a standard play at this point, right? You lose 2 maps, you're playing the Brawl Mirror. We just force dive. Why not? See what's going to happen there. See if our Widow finds more value. See if our dive tanks find more value, right? It's a pretty consistent move for teams to make. Obviously, we saw for OWCS finals, right? That's exactly what Crazy Raccoon did to force through their only map win in finals, even. And I think plenty of other teams do something very similar. So we'll see if Yuurei Mirari are able to draw their first blood of that series here, or whether 0907 just continue to roll.
Yeah, definitely got to see in this situation. Obviously, if you're Yuurei Mirari, you absolutely need this. You need to be able to pull back some momentum to kind of make this happen right now. Because again, if you go down 3-0, it's going to be really tough to kind of bring that back. And not just for the fact that you have to win 4 maps in a row, because those first 2 maps right there, because what's remaining once we're done with Dorado, there is either a choose between Flashpoint or Clash, and then Push, which most of those are going to revolve around the Brawl Mirror. It's what's going to happen. So this map, I genuinely believe, is an absolute must-win for Yuurei Mirari.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. The reverse sweep is possible, but is it easy? Absolutely bloody not. So I have to wait and see if they're able to make this series close. Of course, going to be, by the looks of things, a defensive start for Yuurei Mirari. This should be easier for them. I very much expect them to start on D.Va Ashe, D.Va Widowmaker. Backline, probably just going to be the standard. I'm a personal fan of more greedy backlines. Double flex on defensive hybrid, defensive escort is always a plan I like. But as I say, it's greedy. It's somewhat of a risk. So we go towards this Ana break. Nanocycles aren't as powerful with the D.Va, but it's so good at just raw marking the dive. And of course, this backline is so tricky to shift. Low damage, relatively speaking. You don't have a consistent hit scan, right? You don't have a Sojourn, you don't have an Ashe, you don't have a Cassidy. But in exchange, you've got the pick potential. I mean, a lot of pressure onto Zero specifically to keep a lot of players on 0907 honest. And, you know, no matter what Condi goes on to, then you've got a pretty functional matchup into that Tracer here. So definitely pay attention to how Zero's playing, because I think we saw him really struggle on that Echo previously, especially on that attacking side, right? And if he cleans up his axe a little bit on the Tracer, then it could be a huge boon for Yuurei Mirari.
Yep, 100%. You have 0907 starting out on the attack this time around. Don't see a ton of teams usually go on the attack first and foremost. But the thing is, 0907, they know what they're getting into right now. And honestly, I don't blame them for doing it this way. As then it comes out, hits the double support lineup. I kind of want to test the water to see what actually works for Yuurei Mirari. The longer this series goes on, the more and more they're going to run into the specific style right now. So Heart's still going to be moving along right now. Bones kind of trying to find Zero and keep something going right now. That's going to be an excellent move to keep Bully out of the fight for a little while.
That's going to happen pretty consistently. Yuurei Mirari kind of need a nade to go on that dive right with that D.Va. Bit of a backline split. Scenics under pressure, but should be able to survive.
Yep, Willie, bit of a rough scenario right now. Gets super low, but again, just have the Ana break to keep them going right now, and specifically the Ana break keeping themselves going as a whole right now, as already Cart is making it to the other side right now of the overpass. That we're trying to help out as best you can in the situation for 0907 right now. Is I mean, it's just a really hard area to break through. As Bones goes down, that means Zero has complete free reign on where to go, and the fight ends just like that.
Yeah, I mean, so much of this comp is just waiting for somebody to find a mechanical play, right? Be it a one-clip, be it a pulse stick, be it a nade. If you're Yuurei Mirari, you need somebody to do something cool. This dagger, by the way, is so rude. They're DMing, so you can't even get ult charged, man. Yeah, Doki goes down. Great time off the bank. That's half the time bank now gone. And obviously, just the progress that you get essentially for free here for a Nano 7. They have this Nano boost. Willies could find some great work with it. But I'd imagine you've struggled to find any actual eliminations unless Piku flubs his grapple hook.
Yeah, and now at this point, you just have to throw that. I believe you should have thrown that nano onto Willie in the situation. I think you could just kind of burst through and make something happen right now. It's not going to be forced to get out of there. Getting hit with the nade and forcing that away. So for 0907, big fight they need to try to come away with right now. Right now is Willie getting very close. Gonna get the nano, jumps out as they get nano though. So rough scenario as both nanos have been used on the tanks right now. Condi, give the first one to go down, so 0907 already beginning to suffer away right now, but gonna get their first pitch come through as Bones taking away a ton of attention from Santi in the backline, who does have the remech ready to go right now. Doc getting super low right now, so Raz gonna be invested, just be able to keep them up right now, and this is where our struggle is gonna come through. The mech is gonna come through right now. They are not going to be able to stay alive, though, and nobody gets taken down in the process. Yuurei Mirari getting forced to get out, and realistically, a reach touch just is not going to happen.
Yeah, just Desi going down to Docky made it so hard for Yuurei Mirari. They didn't have that added sustain, and with Zero going down extra late, then a retouch would be pretty ill-advised, I reckon, for Yuurei Mirari. So they can stick through on this defense. They can play 4-second, but decent time off the bank at the very least. This is going to be the awkward fight for them, though. They only have that wall hack, so they've got to put all their faith into Piku and Zero to find some sort of advantage.
Yep, well, he's going to go for the dive right there. He's going to invest in the Primal Rage early on here. Going to put rough situation as, poor Nyx is in a really bad situation, but the anti-hits right now, going to be sending in damage, and all it's going to do is just result in gaining a little bit of space. But at the end of the day, Yuurei Mirari, I mean, kind of content to have that ultimate out of there finally.
Yeah, I think Yuurei Mirari are relatively happy for that trade. It extends the play, it extends the time that Piku can find a pick, and been consistent on the Widowmaker so far. Maybe this flank has something to say, but I gotta say, I think 0907 are just gonna force cart for as long as they humanely can.
Yeah, can't blame them either right here as the nade depending on multiple people. Again, Dusty's been so good at hitting these nades, but the team's got to be there to be able to follow up as Willie gets separated from their squad right now. Going to be able to stay up, and now this is where the struggle is going to happen because someone has to eventually go and help out. Looks like Zero going to have to come online right now, who has a pulse bomb ready to go. Knows kind of where the supports are hanging at as well, but has to be forced to get out completely out of dodge right now, doing everything they can to not use the recall. It's going to hit the shield, and unfortunately, Zero goes down. Nyx will be forced to get out of there and give it even more space.
Yeah, Zero going down to the rail there is really unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. They could build up to a nano and trade off of a Sansi nano. But Yuurei Mirari definitely on the back foot here. Zero's been struggling still.
Yeah, gonna see the separation of the support line right now. Realizes getting a pick in here is not gonna be very likely right now. Gonna see if you can burn somebody away while the supports are gone. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, and Janowicz in the worst place in that situation. They may be able to try to find a pick on the outside right now, but Condi thinks this is winnable and invest in this situation. But that overclock is gonna get just no value.
I mean, technically it takes care of Desi, but that doesn't really matter, right? It's just, it was like a 2v4. A very bold decision from Condi leaves 0907's ult economy in the lurch. And minute 30 left on the bank. There's probably not enough time to charge into another one. A really strange choice here, especially with Yuurei Mirari being on 4 check marks themselves. They are going to be very happy with that absolute gift of a misplay.
I mean, yeah, you would love to see it in the situation. Nade comes out again. It catches on to Condi this time right now as Willie does have another Primal Rage. Likely is going to just play it aggressively like last time, and that's 100% going to be the case. Take Desi off of the high ground. Gonna see if you can keep your on-up break together as best you possibly can. They're doing a really good job as Condi getting forced around, gets their own support. So all 907 has really done here is just forced a bunch of trades right now, and the Santi rough scenario is maybe gonna get forced to use the bomb, but it's just gonna be able to hold on to it and get rid of Bones at the end of the day on the side of Piku. And in that situation, Yuurei Mirari, they trade out a couple of ultimates apiece. You gotta be very happy with that.
Piku has been the absolute pinnacle of consistency, right? Has been finding like crazy multi-frags. Oh, what a nade as well!
It's going to force a rally out, and Santi has a bomb ready, is sleeping. They have to know this is ready, though, so they're going to hit it, and they need to try to get rid of them. Gets low, gets taken care of. Nobody dies to the bomb either. So this last fight means everything right now, and the faster you act as 0907, the better it's going to be, and that includes getting that cart rolling.
A huge misplay from Santi to try and punish that nade. It's not a terrible idea, but when the rally's online, it's just not a possibility. Yuurei Mirari should be able to recontest. Now going to mirror out that Winston, but again, Piku's going to come up huge.
Yeah, pulse bomb comes out right there, so you're not going to find any value right now as what? Excuse me?
No way. No way.
That is insane. I mean, the thing is, they had to have gone off the cart at like 3.1 or 3.2. Because that felt so insanely close, and yeah, that is a C9. That is unfortunately I have to call it a little egregious. That's just really unfortunate. Because I mean they have the nano. They should probably win that fight too. Realistically speaking.
That is appalling, man.
Oh.
Hey, you'll take it if you're Yuurei Mirari, right? I mean, you'll absolutely take that. It's a very, very achievable goal. That is what, 1, 2, 3.5 fights maybe to get to, if that.
Realistically,
That's
yeah.
very, very doable. That's so doable. If you just start getting some Widowmaker picks. And like I was saying, right, Piku's been so consistent on this Widowmaker. Not been flashy, not necessarily, but it's been just one pick to open up a fight. Just get your advantage, get the kind of one headshot, one body shot that a Widowmaker needs to find value in a fight, and you're done. And you're set, right? So I think Piku, if he continues playing at this form, should allow Yuurei Mirari to take this map. But there's always a chance that things just don't work out once sides flips.
Yeah. Could be a very much a quick one right now. If Yuurei Mirari just kind of keep with their consistency, get things rolling, and right now Piku very content to stay over on this Widowmaker as Nade's managing to hit both teams very efficiently, just not resulting in any picks right here. As again, Yuurei Mirari, they're comfortable with what they're doing. They're more than willing to set their time, to set up their nades, and just keep playing for these nades and for these fights together as try to deliver a little bit of pressure, but Willie, I mean, going in there alone is just not going to accomplish anything besides getting a little bit of charge for themselves and for their supports.
Yeah, all it's going to do is burn some time here. This point is kind of necessarily slow to attack because you just need a pick. It's your only real way of cracking through this high ground.
100% right now, Santi kind of hanging around. Eventually going to see the dive come through. Going to think twice for a moment right there as Bones. Again, going to avoid using the recall in this situation. Very important to hold on to as long as humanly possible as ults. Working up away, both on sitting at 70% right now to this nano boost as Nano 7 again have to be content for the time being. Haven't lost anybody quite yet as Desi gonna get annihilated in that situation. Both sports done means Yuurei Mirari is eventually gonna hit the reset button.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate there. Try and force a play by rotating the backline, but they just get punished there brutally. So down to 2.5 minutes. Yuurei have been quiet so far. Piku has yet to open up proceedings in the way that we'd like to see. Obviously, Desi will have a nano boost pretty shortly, and if we trade nanos, then it will probably favor 0907. But there's still a chance to find a pick and close the spawns for Yuurei Mirari could be huge.
Yeah, again, you see the contentness of taking their time. Desi, though, is in the worst spot possible in that situation right there to do anything as, again, 0907 going to get another cleanup here once again. And already, just putting on display that they have just slowly kind of getting more confident with the style.
Yeah, I think once they have these defenders high grounds, it's so much easier to play with. You don't have to worry nearly as much about taking that space, just defending it. It makes it so much easier. Of course, here, there is going to be an advantage of Yuurei Mirari, especially that wall hacks could be huge. But still, it's all the advantage towards the defenders.
Yeah, you see right now, Zero, very much in a bad situation right now as this clock has been going away as PQ gets forced around a bunch of areas, is able to get out alive, which is going to be a very important thing right now as Bones ends up going down. So Yuurei Mirari, their best opportunity to take this map, but somebody has to go back to the point eventually because Zero is just slowly walking away with this part right now. And right now, I think they're finally realizing as bodies are coming back as pulse bomb and not going to find anything right now is that pick on PQ makes it really difficult as Nyx now has the nano to keep them alive and keep this fight going right now. But Santi has that play ready to go, and Yuurei Mirari is content to try to put everything into this fight to try to win it right now as the investment comes through. And now Willie gonna get on the car with only 4 meters left to go right now. Yuurei Mirari gonna get Piku back over on this Ash to get things going. Asante likely gonna get hit with the Remake here as Bomb's gonna go up in the air, give them a bit of space. Remake will come through as they need to find something in this fight.
It's been so quiet from the Yuurei Mirari DPS, I have to say. Zero finds a necessary pick, but they have to snowball it.
Yeah, Connie still has the opportunity to bring back this fight. The nano is there. Willie can't get hit with it, though, because they're in time. They get taken out. And for 0907, it is a risk to try to use anything here. But they're going to double down, and it's going to be down to Condi to try to make this one winnable. They've gotten the 1. They've gotten the 2. They're kind of trying to come away with the 3rd right now. It needs to come through right now. Rough scenario. The nade comes alive. Desi wins the 1v1, and now for 0907, they're trying to hold on as desperately as possible. You get the double support back right now, and Yuurei Mirari has to take a reset, a devastating loss, and now a desperate retouch online.
It's possible. It's still doable. The spawns are about 50-50 here. Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, no, you can't do this. you can't. I say this all the time. You have to get retouches, but you gotta have contingency plans ready for that situation. They just got pincered into the room and literally couldn't get out. And I mean, they were like a quarter of a second for touching. Lucio who came back was like a quarter of a second away from touching, and that is an extremely unfortunate way to lose a map, because not only do you not get the retouch, but you don't get to capitalize on the very, very bad mistake that 0907 just made on their own attack. That is...
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's unfortunate. That's all you can really call it, right?
Yeah.
Reverse sweep obviously going to be needed for Yuurei Mirari if they want to actually win out this tournament. 0907 just one map away from claiming the championship. And I gotta say, after a map like that, your mental's got to be in the absolute bin. That's got to be absolutely heartbreaking. Just not a way you ever really want to be losing out a map, especially considering, you know, how comfortable it kind of looked on that defense. But I think on the attack, we saw one opening pick from the DPS. You need more than that. It's as simple as that. We need a 0 pulse bomb. We need a PQ headshot. But we see an Ash drop at like 3 minutes 30 seconds in. It's too late at that point. The value we were seeing wasn't consistent enough because, I mean, Yuurei Mirari were playing 3v5, I feel like, at points during that map. Very, very unfortunate. We see an underperformance, in my opinion, you know, from that DPS line. But now it's got to be, like I mentioned, that reverse sweep. Yuurei Mirari will have this next map pick. After that, 0907 will be in control of where we go next. So as you mentioned, Clash, Flashpoint, Push, still in. I feel like Push is going to be your best option, realistically. Go towards something like an Esperanza, play the Diva, play like Soj, Genji. You should be okay. I think as long as you avoid Clash, though, then you'll still be, you know, functional.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Esperanza is the one correct choice in this situation right now, because there's obviously the route of, okay, maybe we try to bring it back over to Flashpoint in that situation, mainly almost because you don't have to deal with, you know, with Clash itself, and when you get over to Push, you kind of still kind of play what you want realistically in that situation. But it's obviously a very important pick, and it's when you're down in these situations, Spec, where you your options are very much kind of seized up, as you said it yourself. This is the last opportunity to pick a map, no matter how long this series goes on, whether it's 4, 5, 6, 7 maps, 8 maps, it's not going to matter. After this map, their fate very much is in the hands of 0907, and on the back of that last performance, it's going to be really, really rough to try to pull it back here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, then, it seems like coming from the upper bracket means very little at this point. Yuurei Mirari obviously made it all the way through, but 0907, I think their losses just galvanized them into playing. The pick has come through. It's not what I was expecting. I'll call it that much for sure. Yeah, I don't think Condi's very happy with his map selection. He goes, what is this map, man? That's fair enough, though. As you can see, Hanaoka going to be coming up next. I would assume they play something like Queen here. Obviously, it's a very, very broad map type in general. But we'll have to wait and see what success they actually end up finding. Remember, last time we played some sort of like Brawl Mirror, that was back on map number 1 on Samara, that went 2-0 in favor of 0907 due to some ult economy misplays from Yuurei Mirari. We'll have to wait and see if they play something else. Remember, they started on the Zarya to begin proceedings. Didn't work out for them. Maybe there's a chance we execute a little bit better on that strat, though.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it kind of goes down in this situation, because obviously you go over to Hanaoka, it's gonna be very straightforward. I mean, realistically, everything we know about how this map type works right now is, again, same lineup's gonna be in for potentially the final map of the series already right now. Is you gotta try to come away with some success. And now the question becomes, what does Yuurei Mirari go down? Do they attempt to still try to make this Diva style work a bit? Or do they shift back over to the Mauga? Or maybe they try to force the Junker Queen to work one more time? It's a scenario where it feels like you almost have to make the correct choice the first time around, because you have to play at a disadvantage on Clash. There is a lot of kind of ability to come back on a map like Clash, but either way, I think you need to come out with the right thing. And I think starting out on the Zarya, honestly, could be the right call.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like I said, you have to not get poked out. You need to save, ideally, both these doubles. Just absorb the Malga cycle. If we indeed do see a Malga out in 07. As long as you live through the cardiac, then you win basically for free, right? That cardiac doesn't give life steal if you're dealing damage to shields, and without the damage reduction either, you're gonna fall to the high damage area. If Santi doesn't have bubbles though, you just die, and you're gonna have a terrible time. So care what bubbles are spent on here. That's going to be the make or break for Yuurei Mirari. Gonna have to be perfection from this point onwards, folks. So if you're a fan of them, send them your energy.
Yeah, gonna definitely need it in this situation. You need to come away with a good fight to get things started right now. Yuurei Mirari have given plenty of echoes of success so far throughout the series, but have fallen short when it matters the most right now. Is already 0907 going to go in with the all-out pressure right now, forcing a lot of cooldown. Santi, he forced to double down on those bubbles, but gets a ton of charge here. Now 0907 going to get some advantage right now as Piku gets taken out early, as Willie going to be forced to get completely out of there and take the reset, as Sanji doing everything they can to chase people down, but we have such mobile characters, such tanky characters as well, where it's really hard to take care of them right now, as Sanji eventually going to find their value, but right now, it's kind of felt like more of the poke game between these teams than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, Piku took a really wide angle there in that Sojin, like a tracer angle, and just kind of died after doing nothing. In this re-engage, though, when they're back, they should be a lot more comfortable.
Yep, 100% is going to try to go through. Willie, rough scenario right now with the wrap, but coming to a recall and already having a very long first fight here on C point right now. That's any indication as to how this goes. Willie goes aggressive, and now the Kitsune Rush going to be used. It's essentially just going to try to solidify the point for them, and now 0907 want to try to get everybody out if possible. It looks like they'll be able to.
We were in Goats, guys.
Wrong tournament.
Yep. But Goats tournament 4 through 12. Quick pause is going to come through, of course. But like I said, I felt like the Zarya comp had it had good ideas behind it. I think we're getting to see that now. Obviously, winning out first fight so valuable. Of course, such a snowbally hero. Obviously, they invested Kitsune Rush, and 0907 didn't spend anything. But realistically, you weren't going to do anything with it anyway. If you're going to Kitsune, then Doki's just going to Ray, and you're going to lose that fight because Ray's just better Kitsune. And other than that, you don't really have any responses. If I'm Yuurei Mirari, I'm probably planning on beat disengaging the Rays. You're probably your best shot, and then re-engaging later. But realistically, like I say, important things. Zarya keeping that charge high. I think Santi's at around 70 now, and keeping those bubbles high again to absorb that cycle. On 07, just the backline ults. They could charge up to DPS ults if this fight goes long. But if they do, then Santi's going to grab, and your day's going to suck. So, again, Yuurei Mirari need to live the backline ults, and then they'll have a very good chance of winning out the next fight. If they don't know, and there's a very good chance they don't, we're straight back to Feisty of the Sea.
Yeah, because it's basically gonna have to take an assassination attempt from Piku in the situation to realistically shut down this fight. Because if you can get rid of Daki early, you can come away with this fight much easier right now. If you're Yuurei Mirari in the situation, obviously I'm gonna try to make it 2-0. But to be honest, if they're able to get this orbital ray out from the squad here and kind of able to still kind of set themselves up going back to C point, I don't think you could be too mad if you're Yuurei Mirari in that situation, because you can get snowballed on Clash. It is not that hard for it to happen.
Absolutely. It's a very much a snowbally map type. Seems like we are going to have to restart the lobby by the looks of things. So hang on for a little bit while we get back into action. Should be just a minute or two whilst we get the lobby all sorted out. But just gonna need a pause whilst we get everything sorted out. Unfortunately, technical issues are unavoidable sometimes. They just come. And, even though we've gone through most of the CGL season, honestly, I feel like we've had very few technical issues, all things considered. And now it's the very last day. All the ones that we should have had spread out evenly are probably gonna, compound up and just ruin us.
Yeah, they always like to save themselves for the very end, the technical issues. Very lovely. As like I said, getting it sorted away in this scenario right now. But, I mean, realistically, if we do hit the map reset here, do we think anything really changes in terms of these lamps? Because I think Yuurei Mirari is playing what they think is going to give them the best chance of winning. But on 0907, do you think they change up in any regard with this new information?
No. I think that both teams have a very strong idea of what the other wants to play. We've seen this kind of before, right? And, you know, if I'm 097, maybe I just want to mirror the Zarya, for example. That could be a very reasonable response to what your opponents are playing. But you can also just play Malga and focus on shooting the Zarya out early. That's also a very valid game plan that we've kind of already seen. I think that Piku should have learned to not go on crazy Tracer flanks on that Sojin. Yeah, but other than that, I would imagine it's going to be more of the same. That's kind of what my guess would be, but I think these teams do love to change things up for the love of the game. Willies has been, you know, flirting with the Ryan in spawn a couple of times, could roll out on even here.
Yeah, it wouldn't really be a bad call necessarily. I think Ryan can play quite well into Zarya in that situation. So gonna have to see as looks like Reset is gonna come online, getting everything set away momentarily. As we'll be able to replay things. It means we're gonna be able to replay that first fight. But to be fair, it wasn't like there was some huge structure to that fight. That was a very, very long first fight on C, and usually I kind of see them end a little bit quicker. Both teams tend to go up to the high ground and kind of take a brawl style, or maybe you send your Sojourn to the inside and try to tie in pot shots there. But either way, gonna see what the adjustments are going to be as we'll get in here momentarily. And Spec, I'm curious if anything changes on either side of the lineup now that we have information. But as things are appearing, not really.
Indeed, going to be exactly the same against Yuurei Mirari, which is Zarya will look to hard shoot willies just to survive and punish, while Piku goes on a magical Sojin adventure. 0907 just wants a Malga slam in, backline if at all possible, and stay there as long as possible.
Yep. One bubble online for Santi right now. Have to be very mindful of how to use it. Use it as an ally bubble to be able to help out Zero get a little bit more charge. Press them forward a little bit right now as Piku already getting pushed back. The last thing you want is to get pincer in by Bones and Willie in this scenario right now. That is worst case for the Yuurei Mirari squad right now. So they're going to push up a little bit as point unlocks right now. Bones in a rough situation right now. See the investment from Willie right there. Be able to keep themselves alive as the point is starting to flip over. Entering the halfway mark right now is not the best spot right now. If you are Jonowich right there, 0907 having a struggle right now. Zero going to stay alive. And now with Condi going down, Yuurei Mirari replicating the success of that first fight, and this time around, not having to invest in ult to do it.
Absolutely not. This fight is a lot faster, obviously, but the result is the same. Oh, what a pick! And with no ults even close, then Yuurei Mirari could maybe even snowball this, right? Obviously, the orbital rate of Doki has to be the linchpin of the fight plan of 0907. But realistically here, you get one extra pick, and that's point D also going in favor of Yuurei Mirari.
Yeah, and Sandy's sitting at the 80+ charge right now. It's going to be very hard to kind of sustain a lot of people in this situation right now, especially because they're working up towards that Graviton Surge right now as that bubble on Zero. Not going to find any value. So 0907 going to have the orbital ray online, and there's not a lot that's going to be able to stop them. But Willie is going to be forced to get out momentarily right now. No nade to be able to kind of take them down, so everyone has to try to back out. But Santi goes down right now. Zero's still hanging around, but unfortunately, this is a very difficult numbers game to win right now. If you can get down Willie, it would be the best case scenario possible right now. As the points go flip back over. Unfortunately for Bones, they're going to barely get out of there alive. I mean, this is a really good job for Yuurei Mirari with the re-engagement. And
they've still got the Blossom. Santi will be back in at second. This isn't bad for Yuurei Mirari. They can keep fighting.
Ooh. Yeah, and now Willie's going to the back line. He's going to eventually see Bones get rid of Pika right now. His grab's going to get expended. Just going to get solo used onto Bones. I don't know if I necessarily love the fact that that's what happened right there. So Willie's going to get forced to go back right now. Get the mini health pack right there. He's doing a really good job staying alive. Again, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
Phoenix has been struggling, man. Like, it feels like it's been clean Lucio play, except for the ults. I don't know, it's like some Captain Crash cosplay or something.
Yeah, and right now, Condi is investing in this fight, which seems to be kind of paying off some kind of value, but Death Blossom is alive. Deflect is there, though, and unfortunately, it's not going to pay off right now. And now, this is such a huge investment from the entirety of the Yuurei Mirari squad. They threw everything in the kitchen sink into that, and they're going to lose the fight. And now, this is where that snowball conversation could start coming into effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 0907 do have ult advantage here. A cage is probably a death sentence with this cage blade. And then they have the orbital rate in the fight after that. A Soj pick here is going to be a necessity, realistically.
Yeah, it's going to be that kind of situation. You have to see how it goes down going into this one right here. But either way, you see the cage fight ready to go. It's going to grab solely onto the Zarya. Not the place you want to be right now if you are anybody in this world. But Zero gets rid of it like instantaneously in that situation. As Bones going to be hacking and slashing away right now, as they're not going to quite find anything in this scenario. Either way, fight's still continuing right now as Willie's have to try to get out of dodge, take a reset. As again, Yuurei Mirari doing a really good job of just keeping everybody up and alive.
Well, other than Sansi, of course, no tank makes this tricky, but they should be able to re-engage at least. So, not the end of the world for them. They're still pushing into that Ray, though.
100% gonna have to see how this is gonna go down from this situation right now. As Bones gonna try to get out of there and keep things alive right now as we see the trade out come through. And in this situation, as Daki not gonna find anything too much wrong with the orbital array, this is gonna start going more and more into the favor of Yuurei Mirari right now. He's trying to find a target, but again, Spec, these fights taking so unbelievably long between these teams.
But pick onto Piku might put a pretty nice bow on top of things. They can wait for, okay, a successful beat at least.
Yeah, it comes through this time around, but we're going to see if they're going to be able to come back into this. Condi hitting away right there. Eventually to see Santi fall down, and now Advantage going to securely go over to 0907 here, taking the advantage, and Yuurei Mirari needing a fight win here very badly.
I want to remind the viewers at home as well that 0907 started out this fight using a cage. Winnie's already at 76, now 80% of one, just because the amount of work it got done in that previous I feel like a necessary fight when here for Yuurei Mirari. The lead would get a little bit insurmountable if they lose this one as well.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, I'm going to see the mass charge in Willie, hoping to get the ult off of that. Eventually, Will is going to trap at least one person in there. Going to get two, and both, unfortunately, going to drop down. So 0907 get the advantage, and realistically, should move up to 3-1.
Yeah, their ult cycles are just a little bit too slow, right? 10% away from pretty much every check mark. If they had them, they could have maybe survived the cage, but instead, points going to go in favor of 0907, 3-1, as you mentioned. Not what you love to see. You could probably win out this next fight with just a grab, but you need to be economical. You need to keep that ult economy so healthy if you're Yuurei Mirari.
Yeah, and in that situation, I would almost consider trying to see if you can somehow just win this off of the back of Desi with this Kitsune Raj, and that's what they're going to try to do initially right now, as going to see it. Nick's already going to go down right now. Bones has already gotten rid two, and now things start getting very, very deadly as Willie gets low. Unfortunately, nobody has gone down. The first tick's going to come through. Spec, this could be it all on the line right here. The mass swaps over. It is desperation time as one tick comes through. It's 4-1 to Lucio. Gonna be forced to get a touch, but it's the orbital array online, and they have stamped their ticket at this point. Just a couple more bodies. Zero gonna go back, trying to see if they can get away with the ult right now. Get pushed away at the end of the day, and 0907 clearing away the competition. They are doing their darndest to clear things off, get rid of Stall, and it will pay off. 0907 will not be denied. Not only are they the mid-season champions, but they will be the winners of Season 14 EU PC in 4-0 fashion.
Absolutely. Remember, they completed the full lower bracket run. They lost round one. But after that, just dominated everybody else. Lost, what, one map in their entire lower bracket run? They were absolutely on fire that entire time. A ridiculous performance, and 4-0 in that finals is absolutely standout. Some of those maps were close. Eichenwalde, Dorado were relatively close. Hanaoka, though, getting that double cap on the final point on A. You don't see that every day. You really don't. It's so hard to attack into, but unfortunately, it looked to me like a little bit of tilt coming through from Yuurei Mirari came to shoot them in the foot just a little bit. And I do think their mentals got the better of them today.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation, and when you go into that final fight, you're not necessarily anticipating that they're going to try to go for it all the way, because, I mean, the ult economy was very securely in the favor of Yuurei Mirari, and maybe for 1-7, that was originally just an attempt to go in and get out some ultimates, but then they got a pick, and it's like, okay, let's go for it. Why not? In that situation, literally, you have nothing to realistically lose by just going for it and forcing ultimates. At the end of the day, they got their own orbital array online, they cleared away, and it's an unfortunate situation, of course, for Yuurei Mirari to kind of fall in that scenario. But 0907, they made themselves the favorites by working their way through, fighting as hard as they could, and now they're your Season 14 champions here for EU PC. But Spec, thankfully, we're going to be able to have an interview with at least one of the members of 0907. We're going to go to another quick break, and when we're back, we will have that interview all set up for you.
Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
Everybody, thank you very much here for joining us on the side of the break. We just finished up a big win here for 0907, taking the championship here in Season 14, doing it in 4-0 fashion. And joining us here for tonight's interview is going to be Daki. I mean, first and foremost, congratulations on a big win and just big championship win in general.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and obviously we knew y'all were kind of confident going into this one here. I mean, y'all had an absolute battle getting through the kind of the lower bracket and making it all the way here. So, just in general, this journey for the playoffs. I mean, what was it like for you personally?
Almost good. You know, like especially recently. You know, because we were struggling at the start. We've been able to learn from our mistakes and do a lot better now. And I think that's become noticeable. You know, like we've had times where we were really struggling and we were losing officials to some of these teams, like Completely Melted and Yuurei Mirari. But I think, you know, our recent performance just shows that we've become better as a team.
Yeah, it's definitely fair enough. You guys have been on an absolute hot streak recently. Obviously, you guys won that series 4-0. Some of those maps looked a little bit closer than others. Maybe just talk a little bit about where you felt that game was, most close and when you were most in control.
I mean, there was some maps where we just really haven't figured out our approach yet. Like, I think the closest one was Iconwald. Especially on the defense, or when we were attacking on second point, that's like still a thing we really were struggling with. But outside of that, or at least, I personally felt very confident at all times. Samoa wasn't really a map that we practiced. It went way smoother than expected. Dorado was good. I think, that was pretty much the only time that we actually couldn't really figure out what to do. But even then, we obviously came out on top. And it worked out.
Yeah, and then I also want to say, Yuurei Mirari obviously were making some pretty big mistakes. It felt like in that game, on top of the C9s and Ajaxes and whatnot. Do you think there was a reasonable performance from them, or do you think they were maybe a bit tilted or just off their game today?
I mean, I can never know for sure, of course. Like, they might have been tilted, they might have had a bad day, but I wouldn't really, discredit their overall performance just because they got 4-0 today. These guys are all still very, very good players. They've been, as I said earlier already, we've been struggling against them for a while, and I think because these guys are good, and because we were struggling against them for so long, we were able to put down a performance like we did today. So, I think overall, they're still a very strong team, and I feel like they've had a good run, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely would agree in that sense. But of course, for 097, I've had a fantastic run throughout. I mean, realistically, all of 2024. Obviously, mid-season champions. You come here and win the full-on championship here in season 14. Not mention the success that 097 has had in the Faceit League. So, I mean, sitting here, from what do you know what perhaps is next for this 0907 squad?
I mean, we'll see with the Faceit changes. Obviously, we want to do as good as possible in the next Faceit League season because we're going to be in Masters League now. But our main goal is to qualify for OHCS now. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. That's going to be our main priority, just to do as good as we can. Hopefully top 12, but we'll see.
Well, we would absolutely love to see it. And of course, we want to let y'all go and celebrate with your team. But before we send it away, if there's anything that you want to say personally, if there's anybody you want to thank, you are more than free to do so right now.
I mean, of course, my team, my staff. I think that's pretty obvious. My teammates are insane. They're really good players. They're very smart players. Same for the coaches. They've been helping so much. Our manager has been putting in so much work as well. They're all just amazing players. But also, I think I would like to give a shout out to Yuurei Mirari and all the other teams for helping us and giving us the opportunity to become better players. Just because they are very good players themselves and strong teams, and we've been able to learn from our mistakes. And that was only possible because we had these moments, because we were able to go up against teams like Yuurei Mirari. So, yeah.
Absolutely, I love to see it. But once again, congratulations on a big win here today. And best of luck to the future success of 0907.
Thanks so much.
All right,
Appreciate
take care now.
Bye-bye.
Very respectful interview, I have to say that, from Ducky. Very gracious in victory. I think sometimes, especially with NA console, I feel like they win. The enemy team, they're just terrible. I mean, why do they even play the game? But no, definitely giving the flowers to the teams that they played against there, and especially considering the manner in which they won, then 097 definitely giving some respect to Stu. I think that's definitely fair to see. Of course, can take a look at the bracket one final time to see exactly what happened, and the full lower bracket run is not something you see every day for any team in any tournament, right? Especially when we're doing this, 8-team matchup. They had to play against some really strong opponents, right? I do feel like 097 has beaten every competitive team in the bracket. There's no other way of describing it, right? The only team that maybe would have been a problem is big ballers if they were like absolutely on their day in a bull meta. But as we see them losing against Everfrog and Yuurei Mirari, it wasn't really a patch for them. So I think it's pretty fair to say, beating Big Man Ting, Everfrog, completely melted Yuurei Mirari, that's like every really strong team in this bracket that they've just absolutely like dumpstered, essentially.
I mean, that is essentially how it went down. It's very much an amazing story for 0907 that came in probably as pretty big favorites going in, getting knocked down so early, and have something similar to like a 2019 San Francisco shot kind of run, getting knocked down and just putting on an absolute clinic throughout the entire lower bracket, finish in Faro fashion. I mean, your confidence has to be through the roof right now if you're an 0907 player, and if you're an 0907 fan, it has to be through the roof. The amount of success that this team has seen lately, it is not very comparable to a lot of other teams.
I mean, obviously they mentioned trying to get top 12 in OWCS next year. I think that's definitely reasonable for them. It's definitely an achievable goal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can actually achieve, because with the investment in the scene going up next year, then there's definitely opportunity for teams like them to really start making their mark upon the esport.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing if that's going to be the case next year when things really start moving once again for OWCS. But for here in CGL, things are very much still going here today. While we had the quick 4-0 over here for Yuurei Mirari at 0907, there's still more games to come. In fact, one that is currently still going on, entering its fourth map as we speak. Godstack potentially one map away from taking away this victory against Special Forces. Gonna see whether or not it's going to be the case. But of course, we got games later tonight between BSC Bobcats VA and Tanuki going at it at 7 p.m. EST, and then Short Bus YE Snowfall going to start an hour after that between CGL 1 and CGL 2. So if you're down to watch some more big grand finals action, we got plenty more throughout the day here. But in the situation spec, that's very much it for us here. So make sure you stick around, or make sure you simply just head over to the CGL2 stream, because like I said, there's a lot of CGL still going on throughout the day. And Spectron, talking about that, there's going to be a lot going around for the beginning of the year coming up for 2025.
Goats.
Woo!
Great. We've got Monkey Goats, we got Rhine Goats, we got Moira Goats, we got Zen Goats. Everyone's playing Rhine Zen Goats because they don't have worms in their brains. Great tournament. It's a great time. I feel like it's always the most, it's my personal favorite of the year, because it's where we get all like the EU retirees out of their care homes. Like Horrocks is out again. We get like a bunch of random uni teams. There's always a lot of personality in these Goats tournaments. So like I said, my personal favorite. Make sure you sign up. Obviously free sign up. Nice little prize pool for you as well, and a fantastic time for all involved.
Yeah, always ends up being a fun time whenever this gets put around. I know everyone very much enjoys kind of just having this experience for a couple of weeks and then praying that it doesn't come back again for another 6 months, because after 2 weekends you realize, man, Goats was not fun. For some people, it wasn't fun, but either way, it'll be a fun time for us and a fun time for all of those participating. But in terms of us here today, the aspect that is indeed going to be it. And as I said, this is the last day of CGL Season 14. So make sure you stick around and support all the amazing casters, producers, observers that are going to be helping throughout the entirety of the day to help wrap things up in very beautiful fashion. But in terms of us here, for myself, Spectron, it's been an absolute honor. We hope you all have an amazing rest of the day and hope to see you for CGL Goats next year.